Alright YouTube, what is happening? We are doing a knife video today on the steel wheel knives Intrigue. This is one of the new models for 2018. This model comes in two different sizes. It has this size is the smaller, the 3.25 inch blade, and then the larger version I believe is 3.6, 3.75. So you have a pretty good size version, and you have, I like this size for EDC, but you have a larger version if you want that as well. So wanted to give a shout out to my buddy over there at Indiana Knives for sending this knife over. Eric Ziliak. Definitely go check out his website. I've shouted him out a few times. IndianaKnives.com. He has great pricing. He has great fast shipping. I love the way that his shipping works, where you basically get an email when it's out for delivery, when it's been shipped. I mean, it just is easy to track the order, much easier than most companies I've dealt with. So the Intrigue comes with your typical steel wheel box these days. Little sleeve on there, just a cardboard box. Nothing special here. Threw another card in there, and then you've got your Intrigue and the date it was inspected. This one was January 7th of this year. This is model number F45M14. Put that aside. So what do we got? What do we got going on here? Well, it's a budget knife. It's coming in around 40 bucks. I think Eric sells these for $38 on his website. And it is FRN handle, D2 blade steel. It's on washers, not bearings, and has a tip up pocket clip, left or right hand carry. Gray FRN handle. You can get it in black as well. The gray version has blue standoffs, which is very nice, and the black one has red standoffs. First one I got, was intrigued by this knife, like what I did there, was the size, the weight. It weighs, well, let's just double check. I think it's a hair over 2 ounces. It's very lightweight. Makes for a great EDC knife. Let's see here. No. That can't be right. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, not freaking true. Sorry, this is a new scale, but it's not. That still can't be right. Something's going on here with this thing. Okay, now we got it zeroed. Alright, 2.2 ounces. That makes more sense. It was pulling like 1.2 ounces. So, oh, it's because we weren't on a level. At 2.1, 2.2 ounces, right around there. So incredibly lightweight knife. That took way too long just to weigh the knife. Gotta love that. So 2 ounces, very lightweight folder. Most of that is due to the FRN handles. It does have stainless steel liners, which are skeletonized. They're pretty thin liners. They're not thick in any way, shape, or form. It is a liner lock, obviously. It has a nice detent, nice flipping action on the initial flip, anyway. It's not very smooth, though. I can't get it to like drop free. Kind of gotta like shut it like that. So let's go over some basic specs of this knife real quick. So like I said, 3.25 inch blade of D2 steel. Overall length is 7.5 inches. Your cutting edge, it's got a little bit of a sharpening choil, is going to be 3.125. Your blade width is 0.75. Your blade stock's only 0.12 inches, so it's very thin. Drop point on the blade style with a hollow grind, satin finish. You have a width of 0.875 on the handle. Handle thickness is 0.44, very slim. I mean under a half an inch. And again, it's an FRN handle on that. The ergonomics. Let's talk about that real quick, because that's one thing that I love about this knife is the ergonomics. The handle design is very neutral. Has a little bit of a contour there, but it fits your hand so good. It's very, very comfortable. I mean, it's about, like I said, 4.25 inch handle, I believe, and it's just fits me about perfect. Got some nice jimping up here, so when you grip the knife, it's just a natural feel. It's not forced, it just feels good in the hand, and you got that jimping in the right spot. So you got good grip with the FRN, and good grip with the jimping there on your thumb. So you're not, and you have a nice flipper for a finger guard. So chances of you cutting yourself with this knife are very, very slim. So the ergonomics are fantastic. That is one thing I really like about it. I also like the blade shape, the blade grind, the blade thickness. It's pretty thin behind the edge, so it should be a very good slicer. I did measure this earlier, but I don't remember what I got, so we're going to do it again. So I'm measuring 0.0220 behind the edge, which is pretty thin. So it should be a good cutter. And like we said, we have a pretty thin blade stock as well. Yeah, 0.115 is what I'm getting on the blade stock. So thin blade stock, thin behind the edge, hollow grind, should be a very good slicer. And it has been working well for me for slicing. In fact, let's just do a little demonstration right now. Some cardboard. And this is some thicker stuff too, and it's going right through it. So it goes through cardboard very easily. I'm not putting much pressure at all when making those cuts. This is some pretty thick stuff. It's not what I would call, I guess, your standard run-of-the-mill cardboard, but it's not too thin. But it slices through this, no problems at all. Like I said, I'm putting very little pressure, and it's just gonna slide right through it. So, very good cutter. Other thoughts on this knife. I wish it was on bearings, for one thing. I get why it's on washers. They've dialed in the detent. They did the same thing with the cut jack and the Modus with their FRN, budget offerings. They dialed in the detent really well, but I would still like to see bearings. They're not terribly expensive. You can get them in some other budget knives in this category, like the Tangram Orion is on bearings. The LA Police Gear. This is the new updated one with the tip-up clip. That's on bearings, and they're in the same price range. They're actually cheaper. This one's about 35. This is usually around 35 or 30 or less, and this is 40. So you're right there in that same range. Another thing, since we're comparing these knives in the budget realm and how they compare, is you're getting G10 here, and FRN. So I would like to see this knife. I like this design quite a bit with the Intrigue. I would like to see it with G10 handles. I think that would be a huge upgrade. I'm not a big FRN guy. I get the lightweight, and that's great, but you can make them pretty light with G10 too. It doesn't add a ton of weight. I would also like to see this knife on bearings with either G10 or carbon fiber scales with these standoffs, because these standoffs are a nice touch. They definitely class up the knife, make it less cheap feeling. But I would like to see this done in a premium version, and as far as I know, I don't know if that's even in the works right now, because I know with like the Modus and the cut jack, they did the cheap version, we'll call it the budget version. And then they did the premium version with M390 steel, and they had G10 and even carbon fiber on the Modus. The cut jack just got G10, but so I'd love to see that in this style, because I like so many things about this knife: the design, the blade shape, the thinness, just everything I like. It's a great EDC knife. I would just like to see it in a little bit higher end materials, and it would be a big winner for me. Interesting enough, on the blade stock being thin, the knife that I couldn't believe, but look at that. Your blade stock on the ZT609 is actually a little bit thinner, which is crazy to me, because ZTs, and I just sliced my finger with that sucker. ZTs are not known for having thin blade stock, but the 609 has. And that's just an observation I made while looking at the knife, because this is thin. It's crazy to think that's that thin on that one. Another knife this reminds me of a lot is the Benchmade 943. Now I have a 940, not a 943, but the handle design is pretty similar, and The 943 has pretty much exactly this blade shape. Even the 940 has the reverse tanto. This has the 943 has that almost same blade shape. So that's one knife it totally reminds me of. But overall, I like this knife. Now let's get to the issues I've had. So I have had a couple. When I first got it, it should have right back here. It should have a lanyard pin. Notice it's missing. It did come with the knife with the lanyard pin, but the craziest thing was when they assembled this knife, the lanyard pin was too large on one side, so it was not machined correctly. One side fit, there's a little cutout here inside the liner for the lanyard pin to sit, and on one side it fit in there just fine. The other side, it wasn't in there flush, and so it was literally almost bent in there. It's like when they assembled it, they kind of forced it in. And I looked at that and I was like, what in the world's going on? So I took it apart, tried to fix that, and the lanyard pin was, like I said, not machined correctly, so the one side was smaller than the other. So the one side was machined to fit in that hole, the other side was too large, so it wouldn't actually fit in there, and it was kind of like almost digging into the FRN handle. It was weird, so I ended up just removing it altogether, which I thought was the best solution. But since doing that, I can't, it's very, very close. It's close, but you can see that it favors the right-hand side as far as centering goes, and I cannot. I've taken it apart and stuff, and the only way I can get it where it needs to be as far as its centering is to actually crank down on that pivot, and then the knife's not going to flip for anything. I'm trying to find my. So I had one of these already set up with the right. I think it's a T8. Yeah, it's a T8 on the pivot. I even tried switching the pivot to the other side. I mean, the way it is now. So to get it centered, I got to put it about right. It's still not centered all the way. So that's about as tight as the pivot's going to go. And you can see it's never going to flip. It's just too tight. So the centering is a little off. I haven't been able to get it back to center. Now, it is on phosphor sponge washers, like I said. There we go. I mean, that's pretty stiff still. But we're getting better, and the centering's about where it needs to be. So I like to learn it a little looser than that, so we're going to have to just deal with the fact that this is going to be a little off center. So that's one issue I had. Like I said, if it was on bearings, I like the flipping action a lot better. It does work just fine this way, and it's going to loosen up the more I flip it, and it should retain its centering, but it's still just a titch to the right. So a couple of things that I kind of encountered with this knife, and then when I was using it, I used it quite often actually for the last week. Did quite a bit of, broke down a lot of boxes, just some basic food prep and such with it. I noticed that there's a teeny chip. It's pretty small, and I'm going to get it sharpened out towards the tip of the knife, which I thought was weird because D2 is usually pretty tough steel, and I haven't cut anything that would actually cause that. Maybe I came across a staple and didn't realize it, but I don't think I ever did when cutting some cardboard. So just a couple things on this one. So in this category of budget knives, it's a great offering. I like the design. I like the blade shape, the grind, the thinness of it. I like a lot about it. I just would like to see a little bit upgrade in the bearing department and the G10. $38 though, you can't really go wrong. I don't expect this knife to be perfect at that price point. It's just, you know, but the bar has definitely been raised at this price point. Like the Tangram knives in this price point are so excellent. They're so well done. Had a few of them and they haven't had any issues at all, and they run on bearings. Well, this one does, especially with G10. Now the blade still, I'd rather have D2 than 440 Akuto, but 440 Akuto is actually a pretty decent steel. And then you have, you know, for the same price or less, you have the S35 LA Police Gear knife, which still blows my mind that that's actually a real S35, and it is. It's been tested. So there is some competitive offerings in this realm for that knife, for this steel wheel Intrigue. Wanted to give another shout out to Eric for sending this over from Indiana Knives, and he's actually wanting to give this knife away to one lucky viewer, so we're going to do that. So hopefully you made it to the end of this video. We're 14 minutes in. Wow, I can't believe this video's gone that long. I feel like I've rambled. But if you've stayed till the end, you're going to be rewarded. You have the chance to win this knife. All you need to do is comment down below that you want in, and we will pick a random winner. Just all you got to do is comment, be a subscriber to the channel, and comment down below. It's simple, easy giveaway. And make sure you go give Indiana Knives some love. Get your next knife from them. They sell ZT, Steel Will, Real Steel, WE knives. They have quite a few knives on there. And you can always send him an email too if there's something maybe he doesn't have it on the website. He may be able to get it for you. So make sure you check him out. I want to thank him for sending this knife in for the giveaway. We'll go ahead and run this giveaway for 1 week from when the video uploads, which I believe is going to be this coming Sunday, but that could change. So I'll do it from whenever this video uploads. We'll do this contest for run it for a week, and then we'll give it away. Thanks again for Indiana Knives for supplying this for this giveaway, and we'll see you on the next video.